All right. Well, I think in the interest of time, even though we've got one participant so far, um, since this is being recorded and it will be a resource for other people at other times through our website, we can just go ahead and get going. And if folks miss things, they can watch it again later. Um, so this is being recorded, and so if you turn on your camera or turn on your microphone, just know that your image and or your voice will be part of that recording. A few little housekeeping things before we get going. Again, it is being recorded. Everyone is muted, but because it is a very small group, you are welcome to unmute to ask questions. Um, and I believe it is set up to support automated closed captions if necessary. And you just select the show captions from the menu bar at the bottom of your screen. The presentation slides and recording will be available on our website. And if we have registration information for you, we can send that out as well. We can also put questions in the Q&A. And then also please feel free to introduce yourself. And again, you can do that in the chat if you want, or if you want to just pop off mute and say who you are, you're welcome to do that as well. So our first poll, and again, with a small number of participants, some of these polls will be a little silly, but what type of agency or organization do you represent or are you affiliated with? Oh, that looks like a different question. Maybe I put them in a different order. Kayla, is it just out of order or oh, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. All right, other. Great. Okay. So just a little information about this program that we're going to be talking about today. It's the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA's Section 5310 program. It is designed for projects to fund projects that improve mobility for seniors and individuals with disabilities by removing barriers to transportation service and expanding transportation mobility options. And although the number varies year to year based on congressional act, this year we have around $480,000 available, and we do that as an annual application process to award those funds. And then there's a link there that you'll be able to click when this gets the slides get put out, and that is where you can find the selection process, the policies, and the scoring criteria, as well as the application materials. And in the past, we have funded the Dane County Department of Human Services call center, Stoughton public transit vehicles, as well as Sun Prairie shared ride taxi vehicles, although those are no longer in service. We fund Metro paratransit eligibility assessment, vehicles for Madison area rehabilitation centers, and for other nonprofit and shared ride non-emergency medical transportation vehicles. I don't know why they all end up being white, but I guess it's a popular color for vehicles purchased through this program. And has your organization applied for Section 5310 funding before? All right, though, that's fair enough. Unsure. Eligible recipients for these funds include state and local governments, private nonprofits, and those may contract with for-profit companies for operation, although it does require a competitive process. So if it was a nonprofit senior center who wanted to use some funds to purchase transportation through some other service provider, then that could be done as well. Operators of public transit as well, which includes shared ride taxi. Eligible activities For capital projects, so if we're going out and buying something, essentially, there's an 80% of that cost will be covered by the feds, by the federal dollars. And that'll cover vehicle purchases, non-vehicle capital purchases, such as aftermarket ramps and lifts, radio or communications equipment, and then mobility management, which includes the coordination of rides and travel training. Operating projects are only funded at 50% federal level. And these are public transportation projects that exceed the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. They're projects that improve access to fixed route transit service and decrease reliance by individuals with disabilities on complementary paratransit. And they're alternatives to public transportation that assist seniors and individuals with disabilities. So the last question here, your organization or agency works with or supports, please select all that apply, seniors, those age 65 and older, older adults, those age 60 and older, people with disabilities, people with low incomes, and veterans. Not up, there we go. And if it's none of the above, we can go ahead and end that question as well. All right. So it's important to note that seniors are a target population for this Section 5310 funding. So again, under federal law, the program is aimed to provide transportation services for those age 65 and older, and for people with disabilities. Other populations may be served incidentally, but the focus of 5310 funded projects must be on serving seniors and/or people with disabilities. It's also important to note that Section 5310 is a reimbursement program. That means that subrecipients, so in the Madison area, Metro Transit is the FTA's designated recipient of federal funding. And so the funding flows through Metro, and any agencies or organizations that are selected for funding through this program are deemed subrecipients. So subrecipients are responsible for 100% of upfront costs. And then invoices or purchase orders have to be submitted to Metro for reimbursement after the purchase and operation has been completed. And then operational or mobility management projects typically invoice for work completed in the prior quarter. And it's also important to note that you can't just go out and buy a vehicle and then send an invoice to Metro. It's a very important and complex process to go through, working with Scott Gorth, who is with Metro and on the call today, to make sure that all of the paperwork is in place, that you'll be able to purchase the right vehicle that meets the right federal requirements, and that you'll be able to be reimbursed because you followed the right protocol in terms of having the budget approved by the city council, and everything is in place to meet federal requirements for that purchase. This map shows the Madison urban area. It's the yellow area within the brown border. Projects that are primarily or entirely within the urban area should apply for funding through the Greater Madison MPO. Projects that are entirely outside the urban area, outside that brown line, should apply for statewide funding through the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. For projects that operate across this boundary, please contact me to discuss your best option for securing appropriate project funding. This map shows a simplified version of the information on the map on the next slide. So again, this map also shows the Madison urban area, this time within the blue border, as well as the MPO's planning area within the red border. This version of the map is what you'll link to through our website and links in the application materials. Again, projects that are primarily or entirely within the urban area, that's the blue line, should apply for funding through the Greater Madison MPO. Projects that are entirely outside the urban area should apply for statewide funding through the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. And if it's a project that goes across those borders, then please contact me and we can discuss your best option for securing appropriate funding. Now, there are quite a few roles and responsibilities. This is a summary of those for your information. The MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, solicits applications for funding. The staff make recommendations for funding awards. The MPO Policy Board provides a preliminary approval. And then the Policy Board approves the Transportation Improvement Program in October, which then finalizes the MPO approval. Metro Transit deals with drafting the contracts, including the projects in the city budget, and administers the grant and reporting. The subrecipient, again, this is if you apply for funding and you're selected to receive that funding, then your roles and responsibilities as the subrecipient are to first inform MPO staff of your intention to apply for Section 5310 program funds, to complete and submit applications and provide project descriptions and funding information, to provide follow-up information and participate in interviews and/or on-site visits if those are conducted, to work with Metro Transit to procure capital items and assure that procurement regulations are met, to develop and maintain a maintenance plan to be held on file with Metro Transit in the event that you're purchasing a vehicle or other equipment, to inspect, insure, and maintain all vehicles that are funded through the program, to complete and submit acceptance certifications to Metro Transit upon vehicle delivery, to deliver the project as described in the grant project application, including local management and administration, and to provide financial management of the project, including provision of non-Section 5310 funds and assurance that Section 5310 funds are used for the project identified in the project application. Finally, the subrecipient must also submit quarterly financial and progress reports, operating statistics, and vehicle data to Metro Transit, must maintain a Title VI plan and comply with federal Title VI requirements, must submit to annual on-site inspections as requested by Metro Transit and the Wisconsin State Patrol, must comply with private sector participation requirements, must maintain a data universal numbering system or DUNS profile and provide the DUNS number to Metro Transit. And DUNS numbers can be requested at no charge at the link www.dnb.com. They must also register for a system for award management or SAM account and provide the SAM registration to Metro Transit. SAM registration can be performed for no charge, but requires an account through www.login.gov. And then finally, subrecipients must comply with all additional applicable state and federal requirements. Projects that are funded through the Section 5310 program must be found to be consistent with what we call the coordinated plan. And the official name for that is the Dane County Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. There's a link on the slide for that. The strategies to address needs that are identified in the coordinated plan are financial needs, for coordination, education, and outreach, for service needs, vehicle needs, infrastructure needs, and technology needs. We're going to go into the application scoring criteria, review those, and then I'm going to walk through the application itself to help make sure that you understand how to navigate that. First, the application must demonstrate the project need and benefits. The application describes how the existing project or the proposed project will be effective at meeting the transportation needs of seniors and people with disabilities, and what happens if the funding is not awarded. This is up to 10 points maximum. Depending on the project type, the number of maximum points varies. So if it's a replacement vehicle that you already have a vehicle in the fleet and it is at the end of its useful life and it needs to be replaced in order to maintain service, you can get up to those 10 maximum points. If it's an expansion vehicle, so you need an additional vehicle to expand the size of your fleet and serve more people, that's 8 points maximum. If it's a mobility management program, again, travel training and coordination of transportation, that's up to 10 points maximum. And then non-traditional projects, which is sort of a strange FTA category. If you have questions, I'm happy to discuss them, but for those non-traditional projects, up to 8 points maximum. The application must support the coordinated plan again, and if it is identified as a tier 1 project, maintaining existing levels of service of viable programs or operations, again, that's up to 10 points maximum. And that supports existing transportation services and projects that have been shown to be effective in meeting transportation needs of seniors, people with disabilities, and those with limited income, and that continue to demonstrate effective transportation operations within the county's coordinated network. Tier 2A projects accommodate increasing demand for services within existing programs and operations with a maximum of 6 points. And these support existing and new services and projects that require capital and operating assistance to meet growing demand for services within present boundaries, are able to improve efficiency and functionality by building on existing infrastructure, and that allow for growth, but do not automatically extend a new service without a careful evaluation of transportation needs across populations and jurisdictions. Tier 2B projects respond to emerging community needs, opportunities, and create new partnerships for a maximum of 6 points. These projects, this tier supports projects that are under development and bring new resources, that address identified transportation needs and gaps and/or focus on an underserved group of individuals, that improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the overall system, that provide an added benefit to the transportation services network and riders, and that are innovative in their approach in reaching out to new riders or geographic areas. Projects must serve a reasonable number of individuals or trips given the budget. And for this, MPO staff calculate the cost per ride or individual served and compare across applications. As an example, if it's a $10,000 budget and it will provide 500 trips, that's $20 a trip, as opposed to a $100,000 budget with 2,000 trips, which equals $50 a trip. The $20 a trip project will score higher on this metric. And although this is slightly awkward because it's going to be recorded and available later, Scott, if you want to drop off, you are welcome to. We lost our one live participant, and I can just continue to do this so we have the recording available next year. Next, the project must promote the development of a coordinated network. The application identifies other transportation services available and how the project complements rather than duplicates them. That's up to 15 points maximum. And it could include, but is not limited to, increased hours of operation, reduction of coverage gaps, increased access to medical, employment, or recreational trips. There needs to be coordination with other agencies. The application identifies steps that will be taken to ensure a coordinated effort with other local agencies, including human services agencies, meal and shopping sites, employers, etc., and how the service will be marketed. That's up to 10 points maximum. The application describes who is eligible to ride or participate in the proposed service. If it's a public project, the service is open to all eligible seniors or individuals with disabilities. You can get up to 5 points for that. But if it's private and the project or service is limited to a select client base, you get 2 points maximum for that. Finally, financial and management capacity. If the project has a reasonable level of administrative costs, note that costs of administering the grant are not eligible expenses. That's 10 points maximum. If your local match source is backed up by budgets, support letters, or other documentation, that's 10 points maximum. And if the project sponsor has the capacity to meet project management, reporting, and delivery functions, that's another 10 points maximum. And now we're going to go into the application overview. And I will have to stop sharing to open that. And share. All right. All right. So this application is a little wonky in terms of how it is set up. There are multiple tabs along the bottom, starting on the general tab. And as it says here, scroll down. There are 4 sheets in this tab. It's important to fill out this project name because that information will get populated throughout into other sheets. On this first tab, as it says, we'll scroll down. So information about the agency, their address, we'll need your FEIN number, project contact information, and then you'll need to select one of these types of projects and one of these types of sponsors. Again, mobility management is travel training and trip coordination. Vehicle capital be purchasing an accessible vehicle. Non-vehicle capital project would be buying a lift or something else or building ramps. And then an operating project would be for paying driver salaries or something like that. And sponsor type would be for either a private nonprofit organization. A local public body is any agency of government, local, county, city, village. A private operator for a public body would be a contracted provider, for instance, Running Incorporated currently operates the shared ride taxi system for the city of Stoughton. And then a shared ride private taxi provider, again, a taxi provider that is offering taxi service but not exclusive ride. Neither the driver nor the first passenger have the ability to say, this will be the only passenger in the vehicle. Instead, if there's someone else along that route, they will also stop and get picked up. And so you must select one of each of those. Provide a brief description of the project here. And then, and as you can see, here is my project title that was pulled from further up. And so you'll need to review the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan for Dane County and identify which actions or strategies are applicable to this project or supported by this project and what page number that's on. And then any additional information, any other eligibility requirements to use the service. And then again, is the service open to the general public or is it shared ride service where the customer cannot choose an exclusive ride? We also need to know all other state and federal funding programs that you receive or that you have pending applications for. And then where is the project located? If it's within a single community, please indicate so. If it's within all of Southwest Wisconsin, please indicate so there. These are already filled in, assuming that you are going to be operating in our urban area. The Capital Area Regional Planning Commission is the RPC in our area, and we are the Greater Madison MPO in this area as well, in the 2nd Congressional District. And then finally, a certification that you have the ability to provide the local match, that 20% for capital projects and 50% for operating projects. Finally, there's a really important application checklist down here. Depending on the type of application that you have you've indicated above, NA will pop up in some of these. And so unless it's a vehicle purchase project, you won't have to fill out, or unless it is a vehicle purchase project, you won't have to fill out the current vehicle inventory or the vehicle request. Then the written responses tab. So these are for the first question, the demonstration of need and project benefits, which we described earlier. And then it shows here what those scoring metrics and evaluation criteria were that we went over just a moment ago. And then question 2. And again, its evaluation criteria that we just covered. And question 3, again, the same things we just covered. The project budget, it'll go through on each of these line items and indicate how much money in their project budget will be spent on each of these. As the little pop-up says, the salary or benefits will be transferred automatically from the staffing tab, and vehicle purchase price will be transferred from the vehicle request tab. The totals we put in here. And then for your local match, whether it's in kind or whether it's cash, you put that in there. And it is important to note that for vehicle purchases, a cash match is required. An in-kind match does not qualify. And then here you could describe the source of the revenue and the match. In the goals tab, and this one's a little bit different from what we've seen before, the two sheets are side by side rather than above each other, one above the other. And so here you'll want to say, if your project is going to be trip-based, how many of each of these types of trips will you be providing? And then you can also add your own category in that bottom list if you want to. And if it's information that you'll be providing, then again, how many customers will you be serving as a goal? And then any other goals that you want us to know about and how you estimated those goals. On this tab to the right, project monitoring and reporting. So here you'll indicate how you intend to collect those ridership counts, customer contact counts, or other project deliverables that you described on the other page. If this is a project that is not new, it's been continuing for a while, then please indicate for each year how many trips were provided for each of these different demographic groups. And then for 2024, based on year to date, a full year estimate, and then for 2025, a full year estimate as well. And that should match the project goals page over to the left. Another place where you can describe anything else that is not accounted for in these tables or these other fields. On the staffing tab, if there are individuals or positions that will be funded, then we need to know the title of the position, the name of the individual if they are already in that position, how many hours are going to be charged to the project in a given year, and the salary, benefits, or total in-kind charged to the project in a project year, and any other notes. The current inventory sheet or tab is only if you are going to be applying for purchase of a new vehicle. And there we want to know these details about other vehicles that are in your fleet. And you can attach as many sheets as needed if you have a lot of vehicles. If this vehicle that you're describing on any given line will be replaced with a vehicle that you're seeking to purchase with funding through the 5310 program, please check this box on the related line to indicate as such. On the vehicle request tab, and it is important to note that these are estimated costs for 2025, and with labor and parts shortages and inflation, we do not necessarily know that these will be correct. These are estimated for 2025. And if it turns out that the total purchase price is higher than these, then the subrecipient is responsible for that difference. We are awarding a flat price of Section 5310 funding, and say if the award is for $50,000 and it turns out that instead of costing $70,000, the vehicle costs $100,000, then the applicant needs to make up that difference. And so here you'll just indicate however many of each of these different types of vehicles you'd be interested in purchasing, how many hours you expect to be running per year, how many miles you expect to put on it per year, how many passengers you expect to transport per year. And for these numbers where it's 3-2 or 5-2 or 10-2, the first number is the number of ambulatory passengers, and the second number is the number of wheelchair positions that are available. These, the costs and total number of vehicles will just be totaled from above. If you want to purchase a different type of vehicle that is not on the Wisconsin DOT negotiated procurement, then you can use these boxes, other vehicle 1 description, other vehicle 2 description, to provide information about those vehicles that you would like to purchase. We do strongly encourage applicants to go through the state negotiated contract. It is much simpler. You know you're going to be meeting Buy America requirements. You know you're meeting federal purchasing requirements. And there's just a lot less hassle to try and deal with that. Finally, this last sheet is for government agencies only. Nonprofits do not need to complete this. If you are applying for funding through a government agency, then this sheet is necessary. And you need to certify that you have reached out to any and all private nonprofits that might be interested in providing the service that you are proposing to provide, and then get comments from them and let us know with your application if they had any issues or if they are already providing those services. Stop sharing that. And go back. To this one. All right. Finally, once projects are selected for funding, I will then follow up with the applicant to complete the City of Madison subrecipient risk assessment. Again, because the funding is passing through the City of Madison and Metro Transit, their finance department has us go through and make sure that they have an idea of how risky this project will be financially for the city. We don't need to go into the details here, but suffice it to say that I'll be asking about maturity of organization, the organization type, the subaward amount, any recent audit results, if there's cost sharing involved, what the payment terms are. For these, generally a vehicle purchase is very easy. You purchase the vehicle, the city reimburses you. It's more complicated if you want to do something where you get paid before you do work. That becomes much higher risk. Then experience with this type of grant or similar grants, turnover of key personnel or systems, compliance with grant requirements in the past. Then we total it up, and once we decide whether your project is low, medium, or high risk, then Metro ends up managing and reporting and dealing with the site visits that are determined by that risk level. The calendar year 2025 Section 5310 grant program schedule applications were released on June 3rd. They are due at 8 a.m. Central Time on August 12th, 2024. The preliminary awards will be announced at the September 4, 2024 MPO Policy Board meeting. The awards will be finalized with adoption of the Transportation Improvement Program on October 2nd, 2024. And then the funding becomes available and the grant cycle begins on January 1st, 2025, ending on December 31st, 2025. Here are some important links to the MPO's Specialized Transportation webpage, the application instructions, the Program Management and Recipient Coordination Plan, which is very important to read, and of course that Dane County Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan that your project must support in order to be eligible for this funding. And again, for any projects that are outside the Madison urban area, please go through the statewide program that is administered by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. And since we don't have any live participants left, we will skip the question and A, but if you're watching this later on, please feel free to give me a phone call at 608-243-0182 or at blyman@cityofmadison.com. Thank you very much for your time and good luck to all of the applicants.